Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about some of the round 12 matchups, a couple of captain options for the week ahead, and of course, to get started here today, going to talk about the best players from round 11 and some of my favorites as well, guys. So let's get into it. Of course, at the top here, we've got Mr. Zach Merritt, who had an absolute day out against the Richmond Tigers on the weekend. 148 for him and an absolutely dominant performance. Essendon, of course, losing that one as well. So they got that number one draft pick in the end in the Artemis Cup. But yeah, Zach Merritt getting back to some great form here, and a few Richmond and Bombers on this list. A couple of Giants as well. Phoenix Gothard here coming second last week. Absolutely had a field day in that ridiculous game against Brisbane on Sunday afternoon. 130 for him, and he had like 10 tackles, 25 plus disposals, a goal or two. He was just getting everywhere, and so were the Giants, and he was the best one of them on the weekend, surprisingly. So, top waiver wire pickup this week, I'm sure. Darcy Parish got back to some form from a few years ago on the weekend against the Bunny team again, Richmond, so 129 for him. And Tim Taranto also getting back to some good form there against the other Bunny team. They were against each other. Uh, Richmond against Essendon, and 127 for Tim Taranto. Not bad at all. Clayton Oliver as well. There's a few old dogs on this list this week. Clayton Oliver has been in great form for the Giants. He's been getting into some great form that he used to be in. And last week was one of the best ones he'd done this year. 126 for Clayton Oliver last week. Nick Dacos and Darcy Cameron, a couple of pies in here against West Coast in what turned out to be a little bit more of a nail biter than I'm sure a lot of pies thought it might be. 126 for the little master Nick Dacos, and Darcy Cameron against Bailey Williams in the ruck. 124 for him. Good to see him getting back to some good form with no Oscar Steen there, unfortunately, but good news for Darcy Cameron owners. Ed Richards getting back to some awesome form as well. I think he kicked like two or three goals against Melbourne in that final game of the week. 124 for him. Lawson Humphreys getting into some awesome form down back for the Cats, taking over that Stewart role and is really the swingman down there now. And is getting busy down at home against Sydney on the weekend. 124 for him. Jaden Short, 122 against the Bombers again. So yeah, at least 6 Richmond or Bombers players in this list. So a couple of guys that have not had a bit of opportunity this year actually teeing off. And yeah, Jaden Short, another one, probably the best for the Tigers this year. 122 for him. Finn Callahan, third Giant on the list, also getting back to some good form. Fantastic to see a few of these guys getting back to some awesome form that they've maybe struggled a bit this year. But he did awesome against Brisbane. 119 for Finn. Mason Redman coming back into some form. That's the kind of form Richmond can get you into, I feel. 117 for Mason Redman. And Sam Flanders, since Naz has been out, he's been awesome. He's averaging 100 plus the last few weeks. 117 for him. And Josh Tracy against St Kilda was getting back for plenty of marks. I think he kicked 1 or 2 goals, but he was just getting everywhere on the weekend, and he got 117. So some pretty good scores. Not our biggest week for the top players, but some good scores at the top here from round 11. Some of my favourite players from the previous week, Jordan De Goey, surprisingly, 115 against West Coast. So one of the Bunny teams there. Getting busy was Jordan De Goey. Liam Duggan, not one of my favourite players, but he was having a great time against the Pies, bringing a bit of experience into the back half at the MCG, and 110 he ended up on. So got a bit of junk, got a bit of kick-in time. He did very well for a change, did the Duggan. Riley Sanders up the top here. Again, he's having a great patch of form recently. Against the Demons as well, 107. Bailey Williams against Collingwood, 106. He's also been in some great form the last couple of weeks. Highest score of the year last week, and followed up this week with a ton away from home against the Pies. So he's in some great form, and with the forward status as well. Nice, sneaky one for your drafts. Brent Daniels, getting back into some form as well. There's really a lot of guys ticking back the clock here this week. Brent Daniels, 106 against Brisbane in that, crazy game. Plenty of Giants on the list this week, guys. Patrick Rechko, one of the ones that has really come alive the last couple of weeks, possibly a good waiver wire pickup as well. Last few games, he's been a nice speedy wingman, a little bit of halfback. And yeah, 106 for him on the weekend, again, against Essendon, so maybe take it with a grain of salt. But in the right matchup, some of these guys go pretty well. Toby Bedford, our fifth giant for today already. 105 for him as a mid forward. He was getting some CBAs. He was tackling a lot. And yeah, just an interesting one. Toby Bedford getting in the middle. Maybe keep an eye on him. Kyle Langford showing what a bunny team can do for people. Kyle Langford getting up to 104 on the weekend, getting plenty of it. A few marks. I think he got a goal or two as well. So good on you, Kyle Langford. A few Sydney guys down here. Got Riley Bice and Jake Lloyd tunning up on the weekend. Riley Bice finally back to some good form. Was averaging in the 60s the last few weeks. So good surprise to see him getting the ton. And Jake Lloyd averaging even worse than Riley Bice the last few weeks, I think. And against Geelong, down in Geelong, a couple of Sydney guys here getting busy. 102 for Jake Lloyd. Rory Lobb, in the absence of Tim English and a couple of newbie ruckmen at the Dogs, he's been given the ruck role in the last couple of weeks and could be one of the top waiver wire picks if he isn't already in your league. If Tim English isn't there, Rory Lobb seems to be the next best experienced guy for the Dogs. And even against Max Gawn, decided to put up a ton. So that's good to see. Good moving forward if Tim English is out. Rory Lobb could be a nice handcuff for that. Waiting on that ruck DPP though. Jai Sarong there, another Sydney guy, bringing that experience down in Geelong on the weekend. Having a great day. Plenty of marks, plenty of switching down the back with the Swans on the weekend. So nice to see him close to the ton. Will Hayward was doing pretty well for Carlton in their second win on the trot. So good to see a couple of forwards doing well for the Blues. Will Hayward 97. And Archer May, a very, very obscure one down the bottom here. Archer May for the Bombers, again in that fantastic matchup against the Tigers. 96 for him. And one of the oldest dogs on this list, the Giants, had a busy, busy time on the weekend. And Stephen Cornelio, who's getting back in the middle and getting back into some form. Plenty of marks. I think he kicked a goal. Getting into some real good form there, Cornelio, on the weekend. So good to see. But I don't know how long that'll last. Against Brisbane at Engie Stadium, Giants just went crazy. So I'm not expecting that every week. But good to see Cornelio getting back into some good form. And here are the matchups for this week, guys. Unfortunately, we are back into bye round territory. So this week we got the Adelaide Crows, Gold Coast Suns, Port Adelaide Power, and North Melbourne Kangaroos on the bye in round 12. So we're starting the week on Thursday again with Hawthorn, my guys, against St Kilda, who has also been very, very good. And on the Thursday or Friday night games, I think the last couple of weeks. So that's not a bad game to start the week. Should be a close one there. No Nazaya for the Saints still. But a few guys picking up. Sam Flanders getting in the middle. Max Hall having a great time in the middle. Sinclair, all the usuals down back, getting a bit of it. St Kilda defenders, always a good shout. And Hawthorn, as I say every week, we never really have one person who dominates at the Hawks. We rarely have someone that tons up, to be honest. Some weeks maybe one or two, but yeah, Hawthorn, not the best fantasy stocks for the week ahead. It could be a tough matchup against the Kilda as well, and they're in some pretty decent form. Don't know who's going to do well on the weekend, to be honest, for the Hawks. The midfielders have been lacking. Forwards, Dylan Moore comes and goes. James Sicily, maybe the best down back with Carl Amon, if he can get back into that form again. But the Hawks, not the best fantasy stocks, if I'm being completely honest. So, not sure if there's any captain options for the Hawks in that matchup, but should be an absolute cracker way to start round 12 on the weekend. Friday night, got Carlton versus the Cats at the MCG. Should be a pretty cracking game, actually. I feel like Blues are in some form. Got Hayward, got Mackay kicking some goals, and Paddy Cripps is in some ripping good form. I think he's averaging close to the ton the last few weeks. And of course, Geelong Cats, good form again. Got it done on the weekend against Sydney. Bailey Smith was a little bit off. A few defenders getting busy down at GMHBA, but I think back at the G against Carlton, we're going to see Bailey Smith getting back into some form. Max Holmes was amazing last week with one of his best games of the season. I think a couple of cats did well in the VFL last week that could come back maybe, like James Warple, potentially. And yeah, a few forwards there against the Blues maybe as well. Jeremy Cameron's always a good shout. Sean Manor. Yeah, absolutely some good options there in the Friday night clash. And again, that should hopefully be a good game, I'm thinking, with Carlton in their little hot form that they're in right now. Saturday, we got 3 games, starting off with Sydney versus the Tigers, which could be one of the blowouts of the week at the SCG. Richmond, the Tigers, the bunny team for the week. Expecting Brody Grundy to go huge, Isaac Heaney, a few others there. We saw some defenders get busy last week, but I think it'll be all about the midfielders this week. Yeah, hoping Sheldrick can get the time on ground maybe. And maybe some forwards as well. Is it time for a Marty or Kerno or maybe even Logan McDonald to get in there and kick a bag against Richmond on the weekend? Could be a good shout for some Sydney forwards in that one. Richmond, Taranto back to some good form. Still waiting if Nankervis is coming back soon. I think he's still a few weeks away with the bye. So again, that ruck matchup going to be a bit one-sided, I think, on the weekend. Even though Noah Bolter's been okay for the Tigers in the meantime. Not bad, but against Grundy, I think Tigers are going to get absolutely smashed on the weekend. And there could be a lot of fantasy points for the Swans. Brisbane versus Fremantle at the Gabba after that, which I would have said that could have been one of the games of the season, but it seems like Brisbane has some issues right now, especially after last week. Absolutely demolished in that third quarter. Lost at home the week before. So a little bit rattly. And the Fremantle Dockers in some of the best form they've ever been in. So very interesting one on the East Coast at the Gabba. Fremantle away, going up against the Lions. Yeah, that could be an absolute cracker. Lockie Neal may be the best for the Lions the last couple of weeks. They got all their midfielders there kind of passing it around to each other, but no one's really teeing off at the Lions this year, it seems. Dunkley's not. Ashcroft's maybe having his best year ever, but last couple of weeks has been pretty iffy. And yeah, Levi, a couple of those others in there, McCluggage, maybe get Jared Berry back this week. Yeah, very interesting one for the Lions. And Luke Jackson in the ruck against Darcy Fort and Sam Draper. I think that's a match made in heaven. And a few others there. Sarong's not coming back, but the midfield still got it done on the weekend with Brayshaw, Bolton, a few others getting in the middle there as well. So interesting one midway through Saturday. Should be hopefully a good game, that one. Brisbane versus the Dockers. Western Bulldogs versus the Pies to finish off on Saturday night. Obviously, Western Bulldogs, pretty good form. They got the clutching win over the Demons last week, and the Pies just scraped it in against the Eagles. So I'm thinking the Dogs are going to come out firing this week, and depending if Tim English is back or not, could really see if Darcy Cameron keeps his form going. Obviously, got Bont in there, got Ed Richards who's dominating. Riley Sanders has been amazing. Bailey Dale on a good streak, tunning up. So there's lots of dogs to get busy on the weekend. I think you really got 5 or 6 dogs that are way above the rest dogs in that team, averaging much, much better. And Collingwood, obviously you got Nick Dacos. He's the main man. But I would like to see Josh, his brother, getting a bit busier down back. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. They had a few injuries last week. Fingers crossed, it is a bit of a random, maybe not too random, for any Pies fans out there. You know this. But I'm hoping Sam Swadling can make his debut on the weekend because I reckon he is one of the guys for the future for the Pies. So Sam Swadling, hopefully in on Saturday night. That's something I'd like to see. Other than that, yeah, a few issues injury-wise. Darcy Moore went down defensively. The Pies could be in a bit of trouble on the weekend. But we'll see. Should be an absolute cracker on Saturday night. And yeah, I'll be there for all of these games, guys. Look at that tick. All those ticks on the right. I'm going to be there for all the games this weekend. So join me anytime you want. I'll be here on this channel watching the games with the stats up. So come and join me on the weekend. And on Sunday, I'll be there again for Demons versus the Giants. Demons, unfortunate to lose last week, but just didn't have that fight in them in the end. And the Giants absolutely coming alive in that third quarter last week. Don't know if they can replicate that, but Giants in some kind of form. you have to say, after last week, after a very wayward start, and plenty of their players in some kind of form. Phoenix Gothard, Clayton Oliver, Finn Callahan, even Cornelio looked good last week. So could be a very interesting one there. Ruck matchup's interesting. Gawn versus Briggs. Gawn getting it done as usual, but Briggs, if he can stay on the park, I reckon he could put up a bit of a fight. Demons midfield wise, Cozzy Pickett's been good. Jack Steele's been good. Windsor, Langford been a bit off in the middle. Some of their defenders, not quite getting amongst it as much as we'd like. Jack Bowie, the exception, I guess. But still waiting for the likes of like Christian Salem to get back in the team or something. Might need a bit more experience down back, the Demons. But interesting one to start off Sunday. And I reckon that could be a bit of a nail biter as well. A couple of teams looking to come good. And finally, to finish off the week, it's another little bit of a toilet bowl out west. We had Richmond versus the Bombers last week, and now it's West Coast versus the Bombers to finish off Sunday and round 12. And West Coast has been okay. I mean, you got to say they've got some kind of form happening. And yeah, I don't know. They put Collingwood up last couple of weeks. They beat the Giants at home as well. So got a little bit of something happening, and they got some good players there now. Mid-season draft just happened as well, so they got a couple more. And I reckon they're going to get it done against the Bombers, who obviously having one of the worst weeks for the year. The Bombers with the Brad Scott leaving or getting sacked earlier in the week. So a bit of a transition period, but if Carlton's anything to go by, maybe the Bombers have a chance on the weekend. New coach sometimes does wonders for these teams. And still, the fantasy side of things, Zach Merritt's still there. Plenty of others getting busy for the Bombers, I reckon, on the weekend. Darcy Parish, if he can stay fit, hopefully has a bit of fun against some Eagles midfielders. Midfield still seems more experienced at Essendon, but it's just not clicking right at the moment. So still thinking West Coast is going to get it done in that one. And finally here, my captains for the week ahead in chronological order, guys. Starting off at the top, Thursday night against my Hawks, Sam Flanders. He's been in great form. No Naz there. He's gotten the midfield role. A little bit of defensive role as that as well. And yeah, even getting that triple DPP last week, which is interesting. If you've got the triple position last week, if you've got that turned on, he's a midfield forward defender, which is incredible. But he's everywhere, obviously. So got to lock him in for a captain on Thursday night. Geelong versus Carlton. Thinking Bailey Smith he's going to bounce back. He's going to come out firing on the weekend. 35 plus disposals is what I'm thinking. Brodie Grundy and Isaac Heaney against Richmond. I mean, it's Richmond. They're the bunny team, guys. Sydney has been pretty good this year. Got beaten last week, but back at home against the Tigers. Expecting that to be the blowout of the week. Expecting a lot of Swans to get busy in that one. Brodie Grundy, Isaac Heaney in particular. Brodie Grundy against Bolter. I don't think Bolter's got a chance, in all honesty. Luke Jackson against the Lions as well. That could be a good one. Again, Darcy Fort and Sam Draper. Lions have been a bit iffy. Luke Jackson, bit off last week, but I'm thinking he is going to be right back into it this week against a bit of a bunny matchup for him. The Brisbane ruck situation. Always a nice one for other ruckmen. Lachie Neale in the same game, though. I know the line's been a bit off, but Lachie Neale is still the best of them fantasy-wise. He just racks it up. Even if he's on for 3/4 of the game, he potentially can get a ton, So as much as I hate to say it, Lachie Neale probably going to keep going this week. He's going to do the best for the Lions. And at home, thinking the Lions should bring something more than what they have the last couple of weeks at the very least. The Bont and Nick Dacos and Darcy Cameron in the same game. Crazy maybe, but Bont, it's the Bont. Come on, guys. I mean, it's the Bont. Of course he's going to do well. He's probably, I think the Collingwood midfield has had a couple of easier matchups the last couple of weeks, and coming against the Dogs is going to be something else. I think Bont's going to lead the way. Nick Dacos, though, going to try his best. He's going to get plenty of uncontested disposals, get plenty of marks, maybe even kick a goal. Didn't see him lay many tackles last week, though, so I don't know. If he added that to his game, Nick Dacos could be getting close to the gold every week. But still, should be a good captain option this week. And Darcy Cameron against the Dogs, especially if Tim English is not there. Darcy Cameron, great form last week. Don't see why he can't continue that run against a Tim English-less Dogs. 100%. Clayton Oliver against Melbourne. Should be an interesting one on the Sunday. I think he's just been great form recently. Contested ball beast, getting back for marks in defense, laying tackles in the middle. It just seems like he's back to some form, back to the old Clayton we used to know a little bit more. So I don't see why he can't be chucking the C on him maybe on a Sunday. And Max Gawn as well against the Giants. Think Max Heath just wasn't there last week. He had like a 25% time on ground. He wasn't injured. So it just felt like they were putting Max Gawn back in the middle as the number one, even with a second ruck there. I just think he's the GOAT. Yeah, he's the GOAT ruckman of our generation, to be honest. And I think he's going to put it up against the Giants at home on the weekend. Yeah, Maxi Gawn, get back to that 110 plus threshold, I'm thinking. And finally, surprising here, but I've got 3 captain options for the toilet bowl on Sunday afternoon. Archie Roberts, he's been great, averaging well over 100 this season, 110 plus, sorry. And yeah, he's just been awesome. So I can't see why Archie Roberts won't be getting plenty of it down back against the Eagles. And Zach Merritt, top player last week, top player for the last 10 years, to be honest, top 10 player. So I think he's back into some form. And against West Coast in the middle, Zach Merritt is going to get plenty of it. And the final one here, guys, maybe a bit of a dark horse, but you can't deny Bailey Williams' form the last couple of weeks. Seems like he's really come into his own. He's got that DPP ruck forward, and he's against the Bombers this week at home, which I would have to say that is the easiest ruck matchup of all the ruck matchups, even easier than Geelong or Brisbane or, yeah, Richmond even. I think, Bailey Williams could be a sneaky shout to go 120 plus again on the weekend. We'll see. So there you have it, guys. That is my round 12 preview. Let me know what you think in the comments. Any other captain options I should be going with for the week ahead? And yeah, please like and subscribe below, guys. And on social media, trying to get to 100 subscribers. So please help me out and come and join me on the weekends. I watch the games live here. All the games this weekend with the buys, no overlap. Got the stats on the screen. So come along, say hi, and chat some fantasy with me on the weekend. It's a bit of fun. And yeah, thanks again, guys. Until next time. I'll see you in the next video.